radio show. Thank you for joining me again. Today is February 9th, right? Oh, no, excuse me.
It is the 9th, you're correct.
Oh, it is the 9th.
Phew.
So, gosh, got scared there for a minute. So February's theme is all about relationships, as we discussed last week. And relationships are important because they play a huge role in our life. They're the biggest catalyst for us to learn and grow and evolve as human beings. Relationships mirror and reflect what is happening with us on an internal state. So if you're ever wondering what's happening with you within a relationship, take a look at your partner and the people you're hanging out with, and they're bound to show you exactly what's going on inside of you. And it just takes a little bit of awareness to bring that into your relationship so that you can grow and evolve and move into a deeper level of love and acceptance of one, yourself, and the people around you. So again, everyone is a mirror reflection of yourself, and it's a huge opportunity for self-growth and self-love and just evolving as a human being. Tonight, I would like to invite my friend or introduce you to my friend, Ian Collins. I've asked him to come on to the show so that we could pick his brain. I know us ladies always want to get inside the head of the guys, like, what's he thinking? Why isn't he telling me things? And, you know, how does he feel about this? And what does he think about that? So thankfully, Ian was kind enough to be my guinea pig and yours. So we are going to be taking questions off of the live feed through the Facebook in the comments section. So if you have any relationship questions, this is your opportunity now to ask them so you can get Ian's perspective. I'll give you my perspective. And then Ian and I will go back and forth and have our own little banter. I have some questions for him myself. Some questions that I know I deal with when it comes to clients that are dating and what expectations are, communication, and all those lovely things. So again, feel free to ask any questions you want in the live feed, and we'll make sure that we answer them for you. And we won't say your name if you're worried about people knowing who you are. We'll just ask the question and then answer it. So, Ian, just to get things started, because next week is Valentine's Day.
Right.
So, you know, society puts this huge pressure on all of us that Valentine's Day is the day of love, the only day of reckoning that you ever get to prove how much you love someone. What is the guy's perspective and how much pressure is really on you for Valentine's Day?
Well, there we go. So the pressure comes usually a week or two beforehand because you've got to think about your loved one here and you've got to think about booking a restaurant. And from a guy's perspective, this means he's got to shell out lots of money. He's going to be booking a restaurant and paying 50% more for food he could have had a week earlier. So from a guy's perspective, there's some practicalities here, as well as buying flowers and treating that woman with respect and making her feel like a princess for the day.
Well, we like to feel like princesses.
It's important, but the guy should be doing this anyway in a relationship, that it shouldn't need Valentine's Day for him to say, I love you, or show you any emotion, or actually to bring you flowers. He can bring you flowers for no reason. But back to your question, Valentine's Day, a guy should be prepared. If he's in a relationship, he should definitely think about flowers or doing something different that evening, whether that means cooking for his loved one or going out for dinner. Either way, there is some expectation that society gives us that we as guys should be preparing for a night which involves romance and not talking about the latest car or motorbike magazine or whatever. It's all about the lady and nurturing that relationship that you're in, and that's what guys should be doing.
I agree with you. I mean, for me, I feel there's a lot of pressure put on that specific day, Valentine's Day. And, you know, in my own relationship, I know that, you know, in the beginning, when we first started dating, Valentine's Day was a huge day. You know, oh my gosh, I need to know how much I'm loved, and you know, have expectations of, oh, dinner, flowers, cards, the mushy stuff. But as the years have gone by, we have come to an understanding and agreement that Valentine's Day is just another day. And we like to save our extra dollars on planning big trips together, like getaways on the weekend and things like that. So if you're not into the whole Valentine's Day or it's so much pressure, think about alternative solutions that you can come up with in your own relationship about your expectations and needs, which I feel kind of maybe leads us into communication stuff with the ladies and the men. I feel a lot of times, just from a woman's perspective, we have a difficult time communicating what we actually want and need and what our expectations are within a relationship because we're so worried about being rejected or, you know what I mean? Like it's that insecurity of like, okay, what if I tell my guy this is what I want and he looks at me like I'm crazy and rejects me? Like, no, that's not going to work for me.
I agree. And that would make a guy's life so much easier. If as a lady, you drop a hint. Now, when I say hint, it's not like hinting with your girlfriends. Guys need the hint in big letters. If you want something or you feel there's some sort of expression of love that would actually resonate well with you, then tell that guy. If he comes home with a bunch of flowers and you know he spent $70 on those flowers, when you as a lady wanted something else of similar value that would make you happier, then why not tell him that? It will make him happy. He knows he's keeping you happy and without using the generic expression of love. And it may be that instead of going out for dinner, you'd much prefer him to cook, or if he's going to buy you a present, you prefer something like a material item than going out for a dinner in a restaurant, which you can do anytime.
True. So I have another question for you that, kind of relates to the whole communication aspect and it actually voicing what it is that you want and need out of a relationship. To me, I feel women are more in the space of feeling and being, and men are in the space of thinking and doing. So sometimes there's a miscommunication. Women want to try to drop hints, or they beat around the bush of what they want. But what exactly, like, are you okay with a woman coming and expressing her feelings in a non-dramatic way, to have a conversation like, hey, Ian, I'm feeling a certain way. I'd like to talk to you about it. Is that a better approach? Or do I just tackle you when you come in at the door and be like, oh my God, Ian, you never do this and you don't ever do that. And,
yeah,
doesn't work.
If you're going to talk about feelings to your man, I would suggest waiting for quite a while after he's come through that door. When he's come through the door, he's had a hard day at work or he's been busy doing something. And when a man comes home, he wants that 30 minutes just to sit in his cave and just be himself.
Right.
And he will figure out his problems in his mind, and he will do that, as you said, logically. For the ladies out there, you will sort out your problems by talking to people. And this is what happens usually. The man will walk in, the lady will talk about all her problems, and the man just sits there working out how to fix the problems. But actually, that's not what the lady wants. The lady just wants somebody to listen to.
We just want to be heard. So one of the questions that we actually have is, how can you get a guy to open up and communicate more?
That's a very, very good question. And guys get into a routine. They come home, they have dinner, they have a beer, they put on the TV. So I would say if you want to communicate more with your man, it's about saying, let's have dinner at the table today. Making sure that the television's off, you're not having the children running around at the time, and limiting any distractions. Men are easily distracted, as I can easily say that, but men will be happy to start to talk about feelings if they've got no other escape or nothing else in their mind. It's difficult to get us guys to talk about feelings because we're brought up not to do that. We're the tough guys. We don't need to talk about feelings. We'll be fine. But actually, it is quite important in a relationship to talk about feelings, because it may be that I've made assumptions about my other half, and the same for the lady. So the more communication you have, the stronger your relationship is, and the more you understand each other. And it's finding out what works. And there's nothing wrong with saying to the guy, look, Can we talk about feelings? How do we do that? Do we need to get a few bottles of wine in or a crate of beer? What would make you, Mr. Guy in the relationship, feel comfortable to talk about feelings? And time box it as well. Say, let's have a conversation about this, but also make it half an hour or 20 minutes so that the guy doesn't feel pressured that he's going to spend all night rambling about feelings, which when actually he wants to be doing something else. So it's like taking him into an alien world and trying to get him to actually talk about these things. And it's going to be about him feeling comfortable primarily.
So we have another question that kind of leads into what we've just been talking about. If you voice your need and he doesn't listen, then tries to turn it around like you did something wrong for saying what your needs are, what do you do then?
Well, then he is being defensive and he's trying to cover this up. So you as a lady, you have needs and you've told the guy about these needs and he says, okay, yeah, well, you don't really need that. He's dismissing you. That's somebody who is either trying to be controlling in the relationship and lead the relationship. And it's also somebody who perhaps doesn't quite understand where you're coming from. So I try and communicate in a different way, put it in different terms.
I agree with that. I feel like it's really important for you, if you are expressing yourself in a healthy way. And what I mean by that is when you are communicating what it is that you want and what you feel, you want to be expressing it from a space of ownership. I feel unappreciated. I feel a little neglected. I feel unloved, or whatever the case is. And then you clarify, my expectation of a relationship. I want a relationship where my boyfriend holds my hand, or whatever the case is. And if your guy is turning it around on you, to me, that's a manipulation tactic. He's not really listening to what you're saying. He's becoming defensive, which to me typically means that he knows he's not keeping his end up on of the bargain in the relationship. And it's important for you to set boundaries. Don't cower and just, wipe your hands of it and then be sad and not communicate. I feel it's really important for you to say, hey, maybe leave the situation alone if it gets heated, but then you need to set boundaries within your relationship, and you really need to reflect on, is this the type of person you want to continue to have a relationship with? Because to me, it's an incompatibility issue, and there might be something deeper happening. And I feel like you really need to not be afraid to set the boundaries and walk away from an unhealthy relationship, especially if you keep going around doing the same thing over and over again.
And expecting
a different outcome.
Yeah.
Definition of insanity.
Exactly. I think the best way to handle that situation is have a soft lead in. And by that, you being the lady in the relationship, you say to him, what more can I do for you in the relationship? What would make you happier? And use that as a lead in so that he's then thinking about things you can do more for him. And then you can turn those tables and say, well, there's a few things you could do for me, so that he feels then obliged to actually deal with those requests you're making of him, because you've come to him in a very subservient manner and tried to find out what he's thinking. And that's probably the first time he's ever thought about what more you can do for him. And then you're opening up those discussions on a deeper level about those needs of both of you within the relationship.
Let's talk about first dates, people that are in the dating world, right? And I know this can get completely really deep and a long topic of discussion, but typically I think there's two different perspectives. Dating can mean one thing to a woman and it can mean something else to a man. Then, one of the questions that was asked was, on a first date, what are men most concerned about? Do you guys go into dates having any fears and insecurities, or, what's going through your head?
I don't think guys worry too much about first dates. And I can say that from a lot of my guy friends who have been on first dates, they're usually discussing about where they're going to go. So if a guy's taking on a first date, he should take you somewhere he knows. If not, then if he's taking you somewhere new, then it should be an adventure for both of you. So he should explain that, and then he can make it fun by it being like an adventure. But usually a guy will choose somewhere to go that he knows he's been to, and he knows where the parking is, so that he can turn up earlier and make sure that he is comfortable before you as the lady arrive. I think guys are more concerned about, on the first date, what happens if something goes wrong, i.e., does the conversation dry up? What happens when she goes to the bathroom and doesn't come back? And other things like that. But generally, I think most guys are pretty confident at first dates. Unless they're quite young, they've been on many first dates, and they see it more like an interview than an actual date. I wouldn't say that most guys would be romantic on the first date, because that may scare off a lot of you ladies as well. I think they see it more as, how do I get to know this person, and do I want to get to know more about them? So I wouldn't worry about a first date. What I do is see it as a chance to learn about someone new, learn about what makes them tick, and also try and find out if there are any sort of red flags or non-negotiables which come up at that first date, which would mean that you might be a bit reticent about having a second date.
I feel women, for me, I feel women go into dates with a lot of insecurities when we worry about how we look. Are we going to look good enough? Then we worry about, what if I say the wrong thing or talk about the wrong thing? And I feel like women have a tendency to really worry about being rejected, so they have a difficult time being themselves when it comes to the relation, going out on dates, especially the first date. What advice could you give ladies?
I think the best way, from what you said, if your first date doesn't go well, you see that as a success, because then that means that you've found out this guy isn't worth dating, and you found out early. So let's look at it that way. And then that will give you the confidence to say, okay, I'll just be myself. There's nothing worse than going on a date with somebody, and then a few dates down the line, they say, well, I'm not actually like that, but I was just like that on the first date. Just be yourself. If it doesn't work out, that's not the end of the world.
Agreed. Ladies, not every guy you go out on a date with, do you need to put the expectation that he's the one. Go have some fun, like go date, have fun, get to know people. And, a guy that you end up going out on a date with could end up being a better friend than he is a lover. So don't have the expectation that you're looking for Mr. Forever. How about you're just getting to know people and expanding your circle of friendship, and eventually somebody's going to stick that you vibe with. Now, leading into the dating question, I know a big thing for women is when we feel, we go out on a day, we feel like it was fantastic, it was amazing, and then you don't call and you don't text. And a couple of days go by, and then women, we get all crazy, and then we want to text you and like, oh, hey, just saw this, thinking about you, and it triggers our insecurities. Now, I feel guys like the chase, right? Yeah. So if I'm coming at you, I'm pushing, so you're going to be turned off by that, or what happens? Like, it's normal. You guys pull back a little bit after the first date because you don't want to seem needy, right? And yeah. So maybe share that perspective, and then we have some more questions too.
It's the balance of power.
Right.
So you've been on the first date, you're both equal. And then if the guy texts you next day and says, oh, I had a great time, it was wonderful, suddenly his power drops, because then you as the lady, you can go, oh, I'm not going to reply for 2 days, I don't want to look too needy. It's his balance here. Now, how do we solve that? I'm not sure. One of my favorite movies is About Last Night. I think it's 1981 version. If you've got this problem, watch it. It's about leaving 3 days before.
It's a good movie. Yeah.
3 days before you text them back, and what do you do? There's nothing wrong with texting somebody next day and saying, I had a great time. Thank you very much. It's fantastic to meet you. Looking forward to seeing you again. It's polite. That's nice. That's not needy. If somebody next day is saying, I had a fantastic night, what are you doing tonight? That's probably a bit needy. But I'd say if it's the right person and you're gelling, then go with your gut instinct. Because if you go with your gut instinct and it doesn't work, you've only got yourself to blame and you did what felt right at the time.
Exactly. I agree with that. Go with your gut and don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it. Be yourself. And then just remember, when you've gone out with a guy that was super needy and what that felt like and how you didn't like it, just kind of remember and be aware of yourself when you're doing that to a guy. So we have another question, Ian. Do all guys have a problem / fears of their girlfriend having guy friends and hanging out with those guys on their own? So I'm going to answer that one really quick and then let you come in.
Yeah.
I say no, because Ian is my friend and Ian is my boyfriend's friend as well. And he's cool with us doing this show together. We're hanging out right now and he's actually not here. And he has no insecurities or fears surrounding that. But of course, that's going to take a level of trust within your relationship. It's going to take some confidence with your partner and yourself. And it's a mutual respect and understanding. And, for myself, I communicated with my spouse and said, hey, do you mind if, Ian comes over? We're going to do the show, pick his bachelor brain. And it was a non-issue. So I don't think it's an issue. The only time it does become an issue is if there's already some trust issues and you guys haven't set that relationship foundation in a solid base. What's your take on that?
My friend has exactly this problem. And she was dating a guy. And she said to him, first of all, when they first met, he said, I've got lots of guy friends. I hang around with guy friends. I hope that's not a problem. And of course, he said, of course it's not a problem. This was early on in the relationship. Of course he doesn't have a problem with it. What's different is 3 months down the line, the guy is going to have a problem with it if it's affecting their relationship. And if those guys are inviting her out, she's getting a lot of attention. So I think that girls that have a lot of guy friends, it's not a problem. Be upfront about it. And also talk to your other half about what those other guys do, what needs they fulfill.
And introduce them.
Yeah.
The more the merrier. I feel like it's a whole social network. You have your friends separate of your partner, but at the same time, I feel like to have respect, everybody needs to meet and hang out and get to know each other, so everybody's feeling comfortable. And the key thing is communication. So we only have a few more minutes left, and I do want to make sure I promo next week's show. But really quickly, when it comes to dating, in the beginning, I know a lot of times, again, for women, things mean different things. So we have a tendency to associate sex with love and exclusivity. And even, say you take me to meet your parents, that automatically means like, oh, we're exclusive. But to me, what I've learned, a male's perspective is different from that. It's like, yes, I'm cool. You can meet everybody in my life, but that doesn't mean like you and I are totally exclusive and we're getting married.
Don't make assumptions.
Don't make assumptions.
Communicate it. And if you think you're exclusive, then have that conversation, however difficult or awkward it might be. I'd say there's nothing wrong with communication. There's nothing wrong with putting your cards on the table and just saying exactly where you stand or exactly what you're thinking or what you're assuming, just to make sure that you're both on the same page. Yeah. I
agree. Well, we only have a few minutes left, and Ian, I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I want to do this in the future where we can maybe get even, relationships and the opposite sex, and even across the pond. Dating in the UK is completely different than dating here in the US. So I think we could do some future shows and have a lot of fun and go back and forth. I do want to just announce, and I'm going to read this because I don't want to screw it up because it's important. This is for all you parents out there that have teenagers. Did you know February is Teen Dating Violence and Awareness Month? Every year, approximately 1 in 3 teens nationwide will experience physical, sexual, or emotional abuse from a dating partner. Yet 3 out of 4 parents have never talked to their children about relationship violence. So I'd like you to join me next week with prevention educator Marcella Maggio as we discuss tips to engage teens in conversation and encourage them to have healthy relationships, first and foremost with themselves. Love is learned. And, what are you teaching your kids about relationships? We definitely want to make sure that we're setting a positive example and paying it forward to our children. We don't want them to be in unhealthy relationships. And so we'll be discussing that next week. I feel like it's really important. Thank you all for joining me this week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. If you have any questions about relationships in the future, please feel free to email me at AskRebecca@gmail.com, and Ian and I will tackle those together and give you our perspectives. And anybody that would like to be an actual caller on the show, message me as well, and we can set that up in the future where we'll have you on and you can ask live questions and go from there. Ian, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. It's been a pleasure.